Hey everybody, my name's Simone and I'm from Caligia and I have a podcast called Cannabis Business Minds. I wanted to start by saying hello and saying, you know what, I wanted to provide you guys with information about the cannabis news on a daily basis. It's overwhelming, information is essential, but it's kind of an information overload with all of the different types of cannabis news out there internationally and just domestic. So I want to use about 2 minutes of your time to give you the most important pieces of information that I've collected for the day that I'm able to use to help me make my business decisions in the international and domestic cannabis market. So I'll leave some information in the details below. I really don't do videos that much, so apologies for anything that might not be that fun or a little bit weird. But anyway, so let's get started. So the first article has to do with the DEA. The DEA earlier this year said that they were thinking about they would look into rescheduling cannabis. Currently, cannabis is a Schedule 1 drug. It's on the same lines as heroin. It causes so many problems. We'll talk about that. We've talked about that in our Cannabis Business Minds podcast. But the point being is that the DEA rescheduling is good and it's bad, depending on who you talk to. If it's a Schedule 2, it's great because we can do medical research, but a lot of the barriers that still exists, kind of like the 280E, the taxes, banking, all these things are still going to exist if it's a Schedule 2. Also, if it's a Schedule 2, it's most likely to be regulated with pharmaceuticals and like pharmacies in that closed loop system instead of having all this entrepreneur kind of startup mentality that we've seen in states that have both adult use laws and medical marijuana laws. So the piece of news here is that the DEA was supposed to tell us August 1st, hey, we are going to make a decision on the rescheduling of it. Well, we haven't heard anything. To me right now, no news is good news. Keep you posted on that. The second bit of our information is related to a PTSD study. And actually, the DEA is funding part of the study and the federal government is funding part of the study. But the leader of this study, who's put in $2.2 million, is a not-for-profit in Colorado. And right now, this study is actually currently looking for veterans to participate in the research. It's going to be a 2-year study. They're looking for 76 different veterans, and I believe it's backed in Arizona by Dr. Sue. This article doesn't really say that, but I have a feeling that it's related to that. And what's cool about this study is that it's not necessarily going to be one cannabis strain, but it could be multiple strains, kind of like blind testing that they'll be doing. So if you are a veteran or if you know a veteran, this is so huge that it's been backed by the federal government when it's Schedule 1, and that there's some funding, that there's finally research that's happening. And like any study, it's going to be 2 years before we would really have full results. But regardless, this is a huge, huge improvement. The next piece of news is related to hemp. So there are 26 states within the United States, according to the Farm Bill that was passed in 2014, that allow for some type of hemp production, hemp research, etc. That's just the Farm Bill. The states then have to go say, okay, yeah, we're going to actually do something and regulate hemp and instill a program. Kentucky, I would say, is probably the biggest market so far that has done a ton of hemp research. But Pennsylvania announced last week, and then again I saw it in the news today, that they will be doing a hemp study and hemp research with the University of Pennsylvania. Great, great news. The next piece of news article is actually related to Australia. So cannabis is international. When you look actually at the market, we've got many, many countries that are doing a lot with CBD and hemp, and Australia is one of them. And so the company is called Creso Pharma, and they are set to have an initial public offering on the Australian Stock Exchange. It's more or less a press release, but clearly they're looking at CBD and that type of pharmaceuticals. The next one is related to Illinois, and the local attorney Jeff Hall in the city of Peoria, I'm not from Illinois, apologies if I've pronounced this wrong, just basically announced new laws related to regulation of just marijuana. So last week, Illinois decriminalized marijuana, huge win, and in this article, which was today, the governor, no, excuse me, it was last week, probably with the decrim laws, the governor signed a measure that got rid of the zero tolerance laws regarding marijuana as related to the state DUI. This is huge. So, I mean, essentially before, if you had any amount of marijuana in your system, and you were driving, you'd get a DUI. Now, a person has to have at least 5 nanograms or more in their blood before such a charge can be considered. I'm not a doctor. We'll have to figure out what does a nanogram mean for a person. If you smoke a joint, is a nanogram going to be in your body, 2 hours later, etc. So I'm not sure about the actual quantity of such, but it's definitely progress. The last article actually relates to California, my home state. And right now we are working to regulate medical marijuana, although it passed in 1996. The governor signed into effect 3 bills in late 2015, and currently localities are trying to figure out if they're going to license the localities, and then by 2018, the state will award the licenses for medical marijuana, or actually just begin the process, right? But adult use is actually on the ballot in 2016 in November, so just in a few months. It's Amendment 64. Another topic of if it's good, if it's bad, but regardless, it's on the ballot, and that's huge. And it was on the ballot in 2010, and it didn't pass, so hopefully it will pass this year. Good news is $9.3 million to date has been raised in support of this ballot initiative against the opposition, which has only raised $159,000. And as we know, unfortunately, with politics, a lot of it is backed by money and backed by contribution. So that's it. That's the news for today. Today is, as I mentioned, August 3rd, 2016, and that is your cannabis news for the day. My name's Simone, and I'll see you tomorrow.